My name is MJ Bromley, and I produced the opening sequence to my film, Saviors of the Forest. The main concept of my film is a family of forest warriors protecting the forest, its creatures, and the people. The family consists of 3 siblings, a mother, and a father. Cedar is the eldest child and older sibling, Olive is the youngest sibling and younger sister, and Silas is the middle child and eldest brother. When the siblings are about 15 to 17 years old, Silas is shunned from the family for accidentally tampering with dark forces. Out of anger, Silas gathers the rebels of the forest and begins to build a machine. The Tree of Life is similar to Talia's tree from Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. As Talia's tree is poisoned, the barrier protecting Camp Half-Blood from outside forces begins to dissolve when touched. Just as when the machine is attached to the Tree of Life, it begins to affect the forest. The Tree of Life emits a toxic fog or gas due to the attachment of the machine. This makes going outside of homes and cottages unsafe for the people of the forest. My video engages with the audience by representing sibling and family rivalry. Bigger families can relate to the fighting or arguing going on between family members. I wanted to convey that. Many science fiction or sci-fi movies focus on past friends becoming enemies or the villain, but I've rarely seen specific family issues. If I were to make my opening scene into a full film to release to the public, I would create a trailer to grab the audience's attention and release my film in theaters. If my film gains enough interest, I will begin to put my film on streaming platforms. This gives my film access to larger families with many children or teens, which is my targeted audience. If my film fails to gain interest, I will consider releasing DVDs. The inspiration for my opening sequence was, of course, family. Family is a very important thing in my life, whether it be the family I was born with or my chosen family. The connection between Olive and Cedar represents the connection between my sister and I. We argue sometimes, and the next moment we're sharing a bag of Skittles on the couch and watching Disney movies. The parents of the siblings push away Silas to protect themselves and their family. My mom is like their parents because I know my mom would do anything to protect me and my sister. During the pre-production process and beginning of production, I realized my chosen genre challenges my idea quite a bit. I also realized my opening sequence displayed more of the fantasy action genre rather than the sci-fi genre I originally chose. However, after brainstorming, I found certain props, costume pieces, and special effects created that sci-fi feeling I was aiming for. My original idea had characters using swords instead of sabers in the sparring scene. In the sci-fi genre, electric or plasma weapons are often used in battle or sparring. I decided to opt for my mom's plastic lightsabers from home rather than cardboard swords I would have made. Touching back on the inspiration for my film, I wanted to specifically mention the monster can gas mask. My sister had made me one for Christmas, and I didn't see any opportunity to use it until this project came up. I knew I wanted to use the mask she had made in my film. Masks are often used in sci-fi movies to protect characters from danger or hide identities. In the case of my film, masks are used to keep my characters safe from the toxic fog emitting from the forest. During editing, I added the fog, just enough where people notice and not too much where the scenes aren't clear. This creates a dark and gloomy atmosphere. Additionally, it creates the presence of the bad guy or villain of the story. In sci-fi films, music and atmosphere similar to mine represent said villains. Working on location made filming for us difficult. Scene 1 is intended to take place in the afternoon, as Scene 2 is set at dusk or just before the sun goes down. However, due to the amount of foliage around us, it seemed darker than it actually was. Lighting shapes the way a final product looks or can look. I was forced to edit a filter onto the clips to make it appear lighter or darker. So for Scene 1, it was lighter and Scene 2 was darker. Costume, makeup, and hairstyles were probably the trickiest elements to organize. Each character needed to have a nature or forest-related outfit. Olive had a black and white dress with a flower pattern, and Cedar had a sleeveless shirt due to the forest temperatures and a jar necklace full of river rocks. I decided Silas wasn't going to have any forest costume elements. His character decided to abandon all connections to his family in the forest as he's trying to destroy it. I didn't want to force my cast members to wear any makeup because of the temperature in our environment, and I didn't see people who are supposed to be forest warriors wearing makeup and fighting evil. As for hairstyles, I asked the cast members to go for a natural look, not too fancy. Framing is what we see on screen. Specifically, framing consists of point of view or POV, on-screen and off-screen space, and open and closed framing. The main POV in my film is omniscient POV, which is the viewpoint of nobody in particular. The secondary POV is over the shoulder, which is, you guessed it, over the shoulder and is vaguely subjective. On-screen space is inside frame, and off-screen space is outside the frame. There isn't much to on-screen space. What you see on screen is on-screen space. However, off-screen space is something we imply. For example, characters might run off screen, but you still hear their footsteps or their voice. The longer the on-screen space is empty, the greater the tension. Open and closed framing determines what or who can or can't enter or leave frame. Open frames are when characters or items can leave and enter frame freely, whereas closed frames, characters and items cannot leave or enter. In an open frame, you often need knowledge of off-screen space to understand the shot. In a closed frame, you can understand the events taking place based off the on-screen space. My film focuses on a lot of open framing. Characters are constantly running into frame and walking out of it. Providing those first few shots of Cedar running across frame with greenery in the background allows for me to use open framing. When it came down to filming my opening sequence, technology played a pretty significant part in my project. I used technology to shoot my film, draw my storyboard, contact cast and crew members, and blog my process. The 3 devices I used were a school computer, my 7th generation iPad, and my cell phone. I used my iPad to shoot my film as well as draw my storyboard. The app called iArtbook has an animation mode in which I used to draw my animated storyboard. While at school, I used computers to record my film process on this blog. I then shared my planning and organizational documents on my blog as well. My cell phone was the last device I used during this project. My cell phone was used for communicating with cast and crew members and sharing blog posts with cast and crew members. Cast and crew were asked to look over my final script blog to better prepare for shooting day. On shooting day, my cell phone was kept nearby or in my pocket. It was used to reference the script and storyboard.
Nice.
Before I was presented with this project, even before taking this class, I'd taken a few film camps at the Museum of Science and Industry, or MOSI. Unfortunately, the camp counselors only had 4 days to teach us the entire production process. After taking the same camp 2 years in a row, both movies I made didn't turn out how my group wanted. One of the problems, besides time frame, was that we weren't allowed to edit our own videos. The counselors edited every group's video based off the storyboard alone. And as I've learned throughout this project, not everything goes as planned. Aside from the camps, I've been editing little TikTok edits since I was 14. Though making those are fun, it was nice to gain film editing experience. This project allowed me to truly take my time with each step and plan carefully and thoroughly. Although I've had previous experiences, I've learned so much more from the class and assignments. Syncing images and sound effects, cutting clips, picking the right clips for the film. Most of all, my cinematography skills. I never knew it was all so important. Thank you for sitting through this however long minute video. It definitely ran longer than I expected. Unfortunately, I'm out of time for this one, but thank you again for watching and listening to my process throughout this project. And as MatPat always says, but hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go now.